Alright, you asked for it, you get it. This is an Invasion from Below themed episode of the Bionicle Inspiration series. So let's give you some inspiration for the next time you build yourself an Invasion from Below themed Hero Factory creation. Shall we dive in? The first mock to inspire you today is by Exomox, and it's called Defender Frame X77 Colossus. It's quite lovely to see a cool looking mech like this that's playing with a bunch of system pieces as well. You know, for example, we've got some of these nice tooth gear plate pieces here on this pincer weapon. I think that looks great, but I really like the inclusion of some of these yellow and black like caution lines just above it there. And also the fact that there's some lovely mixel joints to give it some posability. Yeah, the system has really helped make this such a cool looking weapon. I also adore this leg design that's using the classic Mutter arm piece in grey. Now that piece naturally just has a wonderful like robotic feel to it. You know, they've molded in some pistons and some other awesome textures. They give it a nice like mechanical look. It really does feel like the perfect piece to round off this beautiful mech. And I think that piece also pairs very nicely with some of the other like industrial and mechanical vibes that we can see all throughout this mock. You know, some of those mechanical vibes include like the unarmored CCBS bones in dark bluish grey. There's some nice like grilled slopes up here on this turret up top. And then you've got some just other great like heavy industrial machinery vibes going on with all these like cables and greebles thrown everywhere. I just really like it. And I also like the contrast that's being created between these more mechanical textures and some of the smoother textures of this orange armor that's scattered across a few different places on this mock, whether they're CCBS shells or system pieces. It looks great. So yeah, good color scheme, good textures, good aesthetics. It's got a lot going on that's pretty nice. Up next, Dylan Meaves has built a mock that's called the Hopper. So this mock is actually an alternate model using only pieces from this specific set, which is Rocker's Stealth Machine. And hey, building an alternative model like this, that's always a really like fun and unique challenge, and it's a great way to also just kind of get those creative juices flowing, get you thinking outside the box, or it's just a fun challenge. I highly recommend that you give yourself the challenge of making a mock with the, you know, fun limitation of only using a certain amount of pieces, whether that's pieces from just one set or one or two sets, or the pieces mainly from one set, but you might dip into a few other just random miscellaneous pieces as well. It's a great way to grow as a builder because it forces you to think differently. Give it a go. Now, I assume this is called the Hopper because it's taking some notes from real-life grasshoppers or just other types of bugs. You know, I see these like translucent canister pieces that have been like split apart. To me, they look like insect wings, and you know, the unique shape of the claws and the arms and the legs, it certainly seems to be very reminiscent of the limbs that you see on all sorts of different bugs. Now, this is just a great reminder to look at insects, look at bugs, look at animals, look at birds, whatever, and let their unique shapes, their unique body types, the way that their limbs look, let that inspire you. You know, even if it's something as simple as the unique shape of a leg design, or if you want to mimic the entire body of a specific creature. It's bound to give you some ideas, and it's going to make your mechs look a lot more interesting and unique, because they don't have that typical humanoid shape to them. They're a little bit more spicy, interesting, exciting. So give that a go next time you build a mech. Now we've got a series of Hero Factory mocks for Invasion from Below that were built by Pixel. Pixel's basically given every single hero their own mech suit, so let's power through these and check out how he's done them. Breeze's mech I think looks quite lovely. This orange and lime color scheme, it feels like she's fresh out of the wonderful Lego theme Power Miners, and it actually kind of works. You know, it is Invasion from Below. The heroes had to go underground to find the rest of the bad guy kaiju villains, and they also had to go underground with Power Miners. It just makes sense that they'd share a color scheme. I do also like this interesting hand gauntlet design in orange. You know, it's perfect for picking things up, but I also imagine that it creates balls of power and then launches them at enemies, so yeah, it's cool. Now with a name like Bulk, you expect his mech to be a little bit bulkier, and you could say the same for his weapon as well. It's using two of these larger wheel pieces here, and that's the perfect combination to make a huge Warhammer design, which I quite like that for a big old mech. That's cool, isn't it? As we move over to Rocker's mech, I quite like the choice of including a different looking windshield piece here. This sort of diamond shape to it, it sets it apart from the other mechs because they all use the exact same standard cockpit piece, which we saw on every Invasion from Below set. So, you know, if you are making a series of mocks like this, try to add in a little bit of variation like that, even if it's only on one of the characters. Because something different like that, it really stands out and it sets it apart from the others, and it makes things feel a little bit less samey and gives them more personality. A nice standard mech here for Furno, and it's always good to see a fire weapon for Furno, because he kind of always had some of that, so got to continue it here on his mech. This one might be my favourite of the lot. I quite enjoy Surge's mech. It's got this nice like tubing that leads up to these turbines, so to me it gives the sense that he's got some sort of weapon with air or wind-based powers that he can use to combat his enemies, but it could just as easily be some sort of sonic-based weapon, or actually these are, different things to help him dive underwater and do all sorts of cool underwater-themed missions. Which I guess makes sense given that he has a blue color scheme, although Surge was never really related to water, it was more electricity, but hey, changing things up a little bit is always good. And I like the idea of an underwater-themed mech for Surge. It works. It's nice to see some azure additions to Stormer's mech. White, gunmetal, and azure, that's a really stunning color combination. And it seems super fitting for Stormer with his nice ice-themed weaponry. And finally we get Evo with some lovely transparent weaponry. A funky electronic or holographic shield, and then some sick lightning coming out of that weapon. It's good touches, I dig it. Lots of great mechs by Pixel. Now we have an infected mecha, and this is by Garlock Var. So the idea behind this is that a virus has taken over this mech suit and infected it. So now the heroes have to fight some sort of creepy infected mech suit, which is certainly an interesting idea for a villain. I can get behind that. Now a lot of nice system additions have been included on this mech. I really like these upper arms, using some of those Nexo tiles and those curved tiles. It makes for a great overall design. I also like the funky way that the legs attach onto the hips here, using an upside down Mutterfoot as a way to bridge the legs up into the torso. I like that. It's a very fun way of doing that and a very different way of doing it. And hey, different and fun, I'm on board. Mr. Boltron has another great mech for us. It's called SH4D0W, or Shadow. Once again, riffing off of Rocker's Stealth Machine, a fantastic set from the wave of Invasion from Below sets. But what I love about this revamp is the inclusion of a ton of different system greebles. Like how on the back here of the legs, we can see a bunch of light bluish gray pieces and other mechanical details that make this look great. Even some of those gold highlights there, beautiful. Now I can really get behind this very detail-heavy mech. I think it actually sets it apart from how the heroes themselves looked versus how these mechs look. Because remember, the whole idea of this wave is that the minifigure pilots of these mechs, they're meant to be your normal-sized heroes inside these gigantic mech suits that can combat these kaiju creatures that are just huge in size. But obviously, they're playing with scale here so that they can still make the toys small enough so that you can actually afford them. So this textural difference that we see on this mech, it sets the mech apart from how the heroes themselves looked, which was, a very nice sort of sleek design. But then you get this, and you realize, okay, yeah, maybe there is a difference in scale because there's also a difference in texture. And given that it's a robot mech suit instead of a, sentient robot, it makes sense that they'd be different, right? It just aids the overall concept very well, so I like that choice. Now we go from one cool mech by Mr. Boltron to a very cool beast from Mr. Boltron. They've built a great revamp of Splitter Beast. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with this set, here's what it originally looked like. And honestly, this was such a good set. Such a good, underrated theme. Anyway, Mr. Boltron has really focused on buffing up this design and smoothing things out in some really great ways. But he has kept that exact same awesome play feature that, makes sense because of the name of this character. It still splits apart. That second head there is not actually a second head. It is a separate creature on the back. And when that does split off, we get a wonderful little creation here. I love the effectiveness of this tail design that simply uses these small CCBS bones and repeats them like that. The repetition of it creates a segmented design that feels so reptilian and honestly just perfect for a kaiju-like creature, much like this one. We can also see how it actually attaches onto the back. There's just that exposed little socket there, and it just clips on nice and snug. The silhouette of this larger beast I think is awesome, by the way. A cooler hunch design with big, powerful, strong-looking arms. It's incredible. And the use of some of these tires on the inside of the lower arm so that it covers up some of those exposed areas and also continues this smoother aesthetic. It's a great idea. Plus, we've got all these lovely, nice orange spikes everywhere, and I like how that even bridges into the finger design, which, still has that somewhat orange look, but it's trans orange instead, and the claws are a different sort of shape and size, so it continues it, but makes it a little different at the same time. Still some nice unity going on there, even though they are a little bit different. The Beasts of Invasion from Below were so awesome. And honestly, there's just not enough mocks out there, whether it's, revamps of the sets or custom unique creatures. So if you want to build something unique for HF Feb, go build some of these beasts. And honestly, you could even just go build some of those mechs. They're not that common to see mocks of. So if you love Invasion from Below, now's the time. Time to build some heroes, time to build some villains, time to build some mechs, or time to build some beasts. That's HF Feb. And that's it for this HF Feb themed episode. We'll have a few more episodes coming your way soon and other content throughout the rest of February that's all Hero Factory themed, so stay tuned for all of that. But hey, we are getting towards the end of HF Feb, which is very sad. I've been enjoying doing this, but you know what that means. It's time to submit your HF Feb mocks if you haven't already, because the window is running out. So you can submit them to the submission email that's currently on your screen right now. Also, be sure to check the links in the description below and see more from these very talented builders that I've showcased today. Thank you so much, guys. Happy building, and bye for now.